Are back. So if you weren't here last week, Tony and I shared a little bit about the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4. But we shared a little bit too much. You know what I mean? AKA we went a little bit long, so we cut out feedback from last week. So what we're going to do before Cody comes up is have some, now that you've had a week to marinate, put it in the slow cook. We were going to take some thoughts off of last week. And if you have any questions based on what we're talking about, and if you don't remember, a lot of it was about the intersectionality of race, social class, and gender. Where the Samaritan woman, she was the object of a ton of racism from the Jews because they viewed her as having impure blood. She was also a woman who was the victim of just abuse by men, having been divorced 5 times. A divorce she could not and probably would not have initiated. And then because of that, having to be with another man, having no financial stability of her own. So Jesus, he moves towards this type of woman. And how John definitely saw her as a victim rather than some like floozy who moved around from men to men. And so what we're going to do, that was just a recap, but if you had any time to think about it, or if you had any thoughts based off last week when you were here, we would love to take some feedback. Do you want to share anything before we get started? Okay, no. So, that's totally fine. I'm playing second fiddle with Tony. That's what this is really. But anyway, raise your hand if you have any thoughts, or if your just passion is overtaking you, then feel free to shout out. But I'm going to let Tony pick people and respond.
Okay, I'm going to go with Blake because your hand was up first.
Yeah, maybe. Can you just be loud, Blake? That way we can get as many people as possible.
So, I just never thought about the Samaritan woman that way until y'all lesson. And I really appreciate just Tony even coming over here and like seeing the women talking about it. But I really thought it just kind of pass over it, just like take it for granted kind of way. Just like look at it and know what deeper on it. And I just really love what you said in particular about like, are you going to let Jesus define your standards or let the world define your standards? So I just thought that was really profound and just,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right, Tessa.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. Even like Blake was saying, I think I haven't really looked at the Samaritan woman like this. Just even like having a little self-worth. And just even looking at her in a different light, I feel like was kind of strange to me. And just even all the things that you were talking about, I think it like made me really uncomfortable in like a really great way. Like I was really convicted and really appreciative of what you were saying. Because I think it really challenged me to ask more questions and to be more attentive to things, and so I was really appreciative of that.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that was a little bit the goal, to, in a loving way, make people uncomfortable. And I think we're like, we're all learning. And I think on this issue, me and Kamari, I don't know where he's at, but we had a really great conversation. Thank you, Kamari. Kamari and I were talking about how even if we can all be aware that, man, in some way, we are all touched by certain issues in our lives. Like, there is no escaping the issue of racism in America. And we do need to take a look at ourselves and be, okay, how am I affected by this? Am I angry like me? Or can I get arrogant like me? Or, man, am I just not aware of my own privilege, things like that? And so, even today, somebody talked to me about something where I had made an ignorant comment, and they're like, hey, I just want you to be aware of this. And I was like, thank you so much, because I just had no idea, and I was being dumb, and it was actually extremely loving and brave of them to point something out to me. And I was like, thank you, because that is helping me grow. So none of us are finished products. We all have got stuff to learn, because none of us are Jesus yet. And I thank you. That was just a alley-oop to something I wanted to say. But anyway, any other thoughts? Yes.
I just think like the whole lesson overall was really cool. Just because like I think, like Cody said, the whole topic of race in the church can be like a taboo subject. So like that was really cool, like just talk about it, especially from like both point of views.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of types of topics that we should touch on in the church that we don't. And so, like if you guys continue to have topics, like have these discussions, we should have you, I don't know, hey, but sit next to Shirley.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have much of a voice, but I really appreciated your testimony just about your transition and humility. And also how you talked about
Yeah, and I think even the heart for sure. I think Jesus just is able to look at somebody's circumstances and know what was going on there, you know? And so whereas we can kind of make really quick snap decisions or snap judgments, Jesus saw like, okay, this is how this woman's life has actually been. Let me move on past how the world tells me to treat her and let me love her because she's made in the image of God and she deserves that because God says she deserves that. I don't need to treat her how everybody else tells me to treat her, which I think is huge in that Jesus does that. So yeah, any other thoughts? Zechariah?
Yeah, even like when we looked at, or when I looked at the passage and I realized, the way that Jesus treated this woman, I started thinking about myself and I was like, wow, like, being like, I want to say Black American, Black with, the history and like even my own life experiences, I took those things and there have been times where, I like developed like racial thoughts or like prejudices against whether it was white people or Hispanic, whatever, Asian, didn't matter, and looked down on it. And I got convicted, so I was like, wow, Jesus, like Jesus is way up here. It just made it help me realize like, wow, like if I really want to love God, if I really want to love people around me, I have to follow Jesus and I have to look at his example because this woman was, as Miriam said, like, in kind of where they lived the lowest of lows. She was a woman with impure blood, and then a woman who had many husbands, so she was just cast out by people. She was probably, isolated and like, I don't know, ostracized. And I was thinking about the way God used to treat people. Sometimes I can want to treat people in those conditions. Even people like me, who may be black, but just are isolated. So I really appreciate y'all bringing this stuff to light. It helped challenge my heart to really not just be the victim, but also realize like I've victimized other people in my life and in my own heart.
Yeah, can anybody else relate to what Zechariah just shared right there? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I think Z even brings up a point, I think, of just like the perspective of Jesus. I think I challenge you guys, like, as you're reading the Bible, just to think about different perspectives. I think it's easy to have one mindset going into things, but when you change your perspective, you can get so much out of it. Jerry.
Okay. So, this is gonna be a bit of a stretch, but just like follow me. So like, we all know that Jesus isn't white, correct? Solid. Okay, so, alright, in science class, this is for women. When light hits a
Can you just be a
certain
little bit louder, Jerry?
Alright, cool. So in science class, I learned that in like when the light comes to a certain point in the atmosphere, it like deflects into different colors. So I was like, yo, it's crazy because it's like we're all lights and it's like Jesus deflecting into different parts of us, and it's like we so easily enslave ourselves to like a certain label, kind of like what Tony was saying, and it's dope how Jesus is like, nah, you're all a part of me. You may be a different shade, you may be a different dimension, but you're all a part of me, you're all one. So I just thought that was a cool thought.
The image of God right there. Alright, we're going to take like two more, so you gotta be an eager beaver here. Or here's what we're going to do. We're going to go like incredibly rapid fire. So we're going to go Amanda, Jackie, Tonga, and then Jayla. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool.
Cool. So yeah, I think piggybacking off of this, and just after talking to the older about this lesson, I think something that I realized is God made everyone so intentionally the way that they are for a reason. And I think just as someone who's a woman and who's someone who's like not black or white and not brown and just like stuck two races, I think like I can catch myself just really easily wanting to fit in with someone and just like kind of fitting, like, I guess I want like other to be able to relate to people and to be able to understand like other people's struggles and like things. But I think like everyone is so individually different, and sometimes I can wish like I hope that I can just be able to like, I hope that they know that I understand, or that they know that like I don't know, but I think God made everyone so like individually the way that they are for a reason.
Yeah, it's really easy to lump everybody in one category. And so we just got to be careful of that, which was what somebody called me out on today. So praise God for that.
Yeah, I I think even getting to look at Jesus and the way that he talked to her, because I think a lot of times growing up, I heard this story and it's like, oh, Jesus is absolutely toasting her for being sinful. But it's actually cool because if you read it like with that understanding with context, he's actually pinpointing probably her biggest insecurity. And so I think that's really cool seeing how Jesus can go from talking about water to going to her biggest insecurity to like comforting her and like her going back and facing her insecurity and going to all the town and telling people. And so I think that was really insightful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool because I think it's easy to project like how we would respond to people, and then you think like that's how Jesus responds, but in reality, like Jesus is way more compassionate and kind to people, even in their sin, or even when it's sin, but even when they're in their struggles, Jesus is way more compassionate than we are, and so like learning that like that wasn't his heart behind it.
Yeah. I think I just love the point about how being neutral like won't fly with Jesus. Like I think I just like to act like everything's fine. I hate like the idea of telling someone that what they said like wasn't right. And I think Tony, you talked about like being uncomfortable, like calling your friend out like when she said something, and I think I was just like, I don't think I would ever do that. So I think the point about just being neutral and how Jesus wouldn't do that just really challenged me, because I was like, I'm trying to follow Jesus, so I guess yikes, but that was cool.
Yeah, I think that goes both ways. I think Tony made a good point when we were talking about this last week, is that we've got to learn to ask questions to understand other people. Like the only way you're ever going to know is if you ask somebody. That way they can teach you. Or if somebody comes and confronts you, which I think takes a lot of courage. Like I think that's one of the most loving things you can do, is tell somebody they're doing something or saying something wrong. Because that is extremely uncomfortable and also super odd. And so it takes a lot to do that. And so, I mean, I never would have grown and continue to grow unless somebody points things out to me. And I think either way, like, all of us need to grow. We all need things pointed out to each other. So, Jayla, you want to close this out?
Yeah, I think that was really cool because I've never read that, story like in that perspective. Like I always read it as like Jesus being petty, and it just shows how I honestly view myself, on how I can also view God as just being this person that's just like really harsh and stuff like that. But I think the message is really cool because at the time I was really viewing myself as like, as like everybody else view. Like I've dealt with, racism and being viewed as that black person, and being on this campus, honestly, guys are very reckless, and so it was a lot of comments that I have been getting, and I just view myself as those comments, and I just, the message really helped me to remember like who I am in God's eyes, and I even think it's so cool that in the message, like in verse 28, it says the woman left her water jar and went back to town. It just reminds me that like, like what if she felt so uncomfortable and kept thinking about everybody's perspective that she just like left or something like that. And I always think about like, okay, wow, like if I while I was studying the Bible, if I kept thinking about how this person thought of me or this person thought of me in the Bible, like I would never receive the love of God and the spirit of and all that. So yeah.
I think a great passage on this is in James 1, where James says, let everyone be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry. And if we can embody that heart to listen to each other and not always have to have our opinion voiced, then we're going to grow and learn. All of us are going to grow and learn a lot. And if you weren't here last week, we have our stuff on YouTube, like our sermons on YouTube. And I think that was the first one with video, so that's, nervous for me. But I think we're gonna put the link up on the end. So if you weren't here last week, I would just encourage you to go back and listen or watch it. And let the Word of God impact you as it impacts you, even if that, like Tessa said, makes you uncomfortable. But I'm going to pray, and Cody is going to come up here, and we're going to keep moving on. So John 5, get ready for some more challenging stuff. Amen. God, it's incredible to be your sons and daughters. It's incredible that you have made each and every one of us in your image. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for loving us, God. And even if we do make mistakes, even if we do things wrong, or even if we're the oppressor, or if we're the ones who are oppressed, God, that you love us and you want to change all of us. Thank you so much for doing that. We need you, God. Help us to reflect your image and to see one another as made in your image. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.